Hi, my name's Logan, and my idea for a project proposal is the game Battleship. This is the classic Hasbro board game, but converted into a computer program. It would be potentially 1 to 2 players. You could either play against a computer or against another human opponent there at the same computer. So the basic standard rules are each player has 2 grids. The first one is the one where they set up their ships before the game begins, and the second one is for tracking their attacks against their opponent. When a player hits one of the opponent's ships, the opponent must indicate that a hit was made and which ship was hit, which was not how my brother and I played. We never told each other which ship was hit, but it makes it a little easier. And I suggest a modification later that would make that an option. So likewise, when a ship has been sunk, which is all of the occupied grid locations have been attacked, the opponent must indicate which ship was sunk. Play ends when all 5 ships of one player have been sunk, and so then there's some variations of the rules that I would propose, me being variable grid sizes. You could have a smaller grid or a larger grid to kind of limit the play. Maybe make it easier if it's on a smaller grid, so it could be for beginners. Also, be able to have a variable number of ships within a range, probably 3 at the least and maybe 10 at the most. And then also increase the difficulty by having a toggle switch for turning on or off the indication of which ship was hit or sank. Sunk, I think. So that you'd be playing the way my brother and I played if you turned that switch off, because you wouldn't know which ship you hit. You would just know that you got a hit, which I think is more realistic as far as the idea of the game goes. And then actually, this is an official mode from Hasbro called Salvo Mode. And I don't know if anyone else has ever played Salvo Mode. I haven't, but I was reading through the rules and I thought, hey, that sounds pretty neat. So each player on their turn fires shots equal to the number of ships they have in play at the time. So at the beginning of the game, you have 5 ships in play. You call out 5 shots. The opponent then replies with which shots were hits and which shots were misses, and then the opponent takes their turn. And so as you lose ships, you lose firepower, and I think that's kind of a cool twist on the game. So I think that would be an interesting mode to be able to turn on or off as well. It would have a main menu, which would include like options for a new game, setup options, a screen, an option to select to show the rules, and an exit game. Under the new game menu, you'd choose whether it was going to be player versus player, or player versus CPU, or go back to the main. The options menu would have options for the grid size, options for the number of ships, a toggle switch for ship identification, a toggle switch for salvo mode, and it's got a little link to show the rules. Save the settings or cancel and go back to main. This option screen would have defaults set to it, so like the grid size would be medium, the number of ships would be medium, and ship identification on and salvo mode would be off. So by default, if you went and started a new game without coming to the options screen, those would be the options you would have. Then you would have a pause menu, which would be in-game only, which would allow you to either go back to the game or surrender. So whoever the current player is when the surrender option is chosen, that would be the person that would get the loss on their record. Or exit game, which would determine a winner based on number of hits and sank ships. So then as far as lists are concerned, there would be a list of players. Each player would, when you start a new game, there would be a screen, and I didn't mention this earlier, but there would be a screen for entering your name or picking your name off of an existing list. I think during the game it would be nice to have a move list, a little screen, a little output area that shows your history of moves, so that you can, I know my brother and I used to get in arguments over the game, the analog version, of, well, you already called that shot, or it's not your turn, or whatever. Now the game would keep track of turns, but it'd still be nice to have a reference point of what your last moves were, what your opponent's last moves were. And then obviously a ship list would also be displayed there. During setup, it would just be for indicating which ship you're placing, and for during the game, it would be your ship's status as well. So each of the 5 ships would be listed there, and they would have maybe number of hits left or something like that, or some indication of their status. So anyways, I do have some experience with code. I have been working at the at my county government office in the IT department for the last 3 years, but the last 2 years I've been working on either I was doing some HTML, CSS, and JavaScript for the website, and then I got hired as a software engineer, entry level, and I've started doing PowerShell script. I've taken the CIT 160, the CIT 230, which is the one's the intro to programming that uses JavaScript, and the other one is the front-end web development, wherein I started learning some PHP. So I don't have a whole lot of experience. Well, I don't have hardly any experience with Java, except for kind of the object-oriented programming structure that I've seen my coworkers using in C#. I've heard that Java and C# are very similar. So, but I am familiar with the constructs of programming, the logic behind conditional statements and triggers and things like that. So, so I do have some varied experience there, but I think I would make a good teammate because I am very detail oriented. I like to think things out ahead of time and make a plan, and I try to consider all options, try to consider what the requirements are of a project before you start, so that you don't get halfway in and say, oh, we forgot to do the scoreboard, or you know, whatever. You know, also, you know, I'm working in the industry, and it's something that's I'm really passionate about, so I'm going to be like as involved as I can. I'm going to be pushing myself and pushing the team to let's try and give this game all we got. So I think I would be a good teammate. Welcome to class, everybody, and I hope to see you in my team next week.